when people come here illegally, when they break the law, it's important that we make that distinction. That's what we're doing with our Rwanda policy. That's what we're doing with making sure that asylum seekers can't just vanish into the rest of the country.
Let's cross live now to our politics correspondent in Westminster, Rob Powell. And Rob, this isn't going down very well with campaigners who will no doubt have this at the forefront of their minds during next month's court hearing on the legalities of the Rwanda policy.
Yeah, because of course it comes. This is really just one part of a broader push, a broader crackdown, as the government sees it, on people arriving predominantly in small boats on the south coast of England, but also through other irregular routes, like on the back of lorries across the Channel Tunnel as well. This is a 12-month trial, this tagging pilot, which started earlier in the week. It will only operate in England and Wales, and it will mean people could be electronically tagged if they come to the UK by what the government says a dangerous or unnecessary route. So realistically, you're talking about on small boats or on the back of lorries. The aim, as you heard the Prime Minister saying there, is partly to ensure people don't just disappear into the country when they're released from detention centres where there's close monitoring and released into asylum seeker accommodation where there is a lot more freedom. The aim as well, though, is to try and keep track of people and whether they break any bail conditions or curfew conditions they might have, and to find out whether more frequent contact with people awaiting claims can help to get those claims processed more quickly. Now, we don't exactly know who will be put into this 12-month pilot, but we are told that it won't include under 18s, it won't include pregnant women, it won't include people that are released from detention under the Mental Health Act. Some of the people that may well be included in it, though, are some of those that could have been on that plane that was due to take off on Tuesday to Rwanda, the first Rwanda deportation flight as part of that controversial scheme to move asylum seekers from the UK to Rwanda to have their claims processed there and to ultimately settle there. Clearly controversial, though. Campaigners say that this is treating people that are fleeing war and persecution as if they're criminals. But I think that's really the cornerstone of the government's approach now, because legislation that's been passed here in Westminster means that if you do come to the UK in a small boat or in a lorry, then that legislation essentially means that you are breaking the law. So I think that's why the government think they have justification here. The Labour leader, Sir Keir Starmer, has also been out campaigning today and talking about this, essentially accusing the government of a stunt. Have a listen.
I think that the government is chasing headlines. What I want is a serious response, because nobody wants these journeys across the Channel to be made, these perilous journeys. Everybody wants to clamp down on the gangs. That requires grown-up work with the French authorities and upstream works to actually tackle these gangs.
Now, I think in terms of headline-grabbing accusations, Sir Keir Starmer has a point to an extent. The government certainly doesn't mind us talking about topics like them fighting in the courts over flights to Rwanda, over the electronic tagging of people that arrive in small boats. And I think we can get a sense of that from some of the comments from the Home Secretary in the newspapers this morning, accusing the European Court of Human Rights, which of course stopped that Rwanda flight taking off at the last minute, saying that that decision was scandalous, saying that accusing the court of being politically motivated as well. So they're clearly doubling down on this. They clearly want to send out a strong message that they are at least trying to do something about small boats arriving on the south coast of England. And they clearly believe that they've got, whilst it will be divisive, they believe that they've got a good chunk of the public behind them. Now, I think the polling on that is more mixed, and we may start to get the first indication of how much people are really behind the government on some of these so-called wedge issues, these controversial issues that they are pushing when we get those by-elections later this week.